My 4-year-old son called me crying at work. Mommy's boyfriend hit me with a bat and said he'll hurt me more if I cry. I heard yelling, called my brother, an ex-cage fighter. And when he kicked down the door, what he did next was beyond brutal. I was standing in the middle of my auto shop in Tempe, Arizona. My hands still shaking from the phone call that had just blown my entire life apart. The '72 Charger I'd been restoring for a client sat half-finished behind me, headlights glowing like giant accusing eyes. My phone was still on speaker, still replaying the 5 seconds of hell I'd recorded without even meaning to. 5 seconds that made every muscle in my body go cold. A child screaming, a thud, a man's voice yelling, and then silence. It was my daughter, my 6-year-old, Leah, and the man screaming was her stepfather, my ex-wife's new husband, Rylan Holt. The recording wasn't intentional. I'd answered the call thinking it was one of my customers. Instead, I heard my daughter's voice, trembling, breathless, whispering, "Daddy, I'm scared." Then Rylan stormed into the room and the call must have fallen to the floor. I heard him shouting, something about learning respect. And then, God, her cry. It wasn't the cry over a scraped knee or a nightmare. It was a sound a kid makes when someone twice their size does something unforgivable. I stood there in my shop, the desert heat pressing in through the open bay door, the smell of oil and metal thick in the air. My mind kept looping the same thought. I should already be in the car, driving, breaking down the door, ending him, but I couldn't make myself move. Not yet, because I'd learned the hard way what happens when I act on instinct instead of strategy. The divorce had nearly bankrupted me. The custody fight had come close to destroying me. My ex-wife, Kelsey, had painted me as unstable, obsessive, angry. And because I'd once put my fist through a cabinet during an argument. One mistake in 7 years, the court believed every poisonous word she said. The system didn't protect me. Worse, it barely protected Leah. So if I went storming into Kelsey's house now, fists flying, I knew exactly what would happen. I'd be in handcuffs before I even reached Leah's room. And Rylan, the same man who once bragged to me that kids just need tough love, would spin some story about discipline and accidents. And the court, again, would eat it up. I couldn't lose Leah. Not like that. So I forced myself to breathe. Forced myself to think. There was only one person I could call. Someone who didn't fear consequences, who didn't freeze when things turned violent, who didn't hesitate. My older sister, Marin. She and I hadn't been close since my father's death. She'd hardened into someone sharp, decisive, and terrifying when she wanted to be. A former sheriff's deputy who'd left the badge behind after a scandal no one talked about openly. She never told me the full story, only that the law doesn't work the way you think it does. She answered on the first ring. "What happened?" she asked. No greeting, no breath wasted. "It's Leah," I said, my voice cracking. "Rylan hurt her. I heard it happen. I'm 15 minutes away." "I'm 8, she said. "Text me the address. Don't go in. Not yet. Let me get her out first." "Marin, Evan," she said, her voice low and lethal. "If he laid a hand on her, I will make him regret breathing. But you need to stay clean. Do you hear me?" I looked at the shop door, at my keys hanging on the hook, at the desert sun sinking against the rooftops. "I hear you," I whispered. "Good. I'm on my way." She hung up, leaving me alone with the echo of my daughter's screams. As I grabbed my keys, one thought hit me, hard and cold. If Marin reached that house and found something worse than bruises, I wasn't sure she'd let Rylan live. And the worst part? I wasn't sure I'd want her to. I sped out of the shop parking lot, gravel spitting behind my truck, my hands gripping the wheel so tight my knuckles looked bone white. Marin was already halfway to Kelsey's place, and the only thing keeping me from flooring it all the way there was her order. Stay clean, stay out, stay smart. It was the same thing she said to me the day my life fell apart the first time. Because this wasn't the first time I'd lost everything. Back when Kelsey and I first met in Flagstaff, I was 23 and working the front desk of a motel while fixing cars out of a rented storage unit after hours. She came in one night in a red sundress, hair windblown from a road trip with her college friends. She laughed at my bad jokes, said I had kind eyes, and told me she liked guys who could fix anything. And like an idiot, I believed that meant I was enough. Within a year, we were married. Within 3, Leah was born. For a while, life felt almost normal. I had my little automotive side hustle turning into a real shop, and Kelsey worked at a property management company. But then she wanted more. More money, more status, more weekends away, more attention. She said she felt stuck with someone who never wanted to leave Arizona, someone who thought building engines counted as ambition. Every fight became a trial. Every trial had the same verdict. I wasn't enough, and I kept trying anyway, until the day I came home early and found her sitting on the edge of the bed crying, apologizing, telling me she'd slipped with someone from her office. Some guy named Trevor, gelled hair, expensive watch, polished smile. It wasn't even the affair that gutted me. It was the way she said it, like I was the reason she did it. We tried therapy, counseling, promises, but something inside her had shifted. I started noticing things. Nights she didn't come home, lies about work functions, her phone screen flipping down every time I entered a room, and the worst part? I still wanted to believe her. The divorce came a year later, and Kelsey fought dirty. She said I was prone to anger, said I was unstable, said Leah wasn't safe with me. And yes, I'd put my fist through a kitchen cabinet during one of our fights. Not at her, not near her. But a single moment of losing control was enough for her lawyer to build an entire narrative around. I lost primary custody in 3 hearings. I lost the house. I lost any illusion that the system cared about fathers like me. Then came Rylan. He appeared like he'd been waiting in the wings, tall, charming, the kind of guy who calls himself an entrepreneur even though no one knows what he actually does. Within months, he'd moved into my old home. Within a year, he married Kelsey. And Leah. God, Leah tried to like him. She really did. Kids always try. But I'd see the way she tensed when his name came up. How she'd ask if she could stay just one more night with me. How she'd get quiet when I asked what he was like. Kelsey said I was imagining things. Her lawyer said I was projecting insecurity. The court said I had no evidence. But Marin? She pulled me aside one night after hearing Leah talk in her sleep and said, "That man's wrong. I feel it. Something in him is wrong." She'd been a sheriff's deputy for 12 years, and she had a scary good instinct for people. The kind born from seeing the worst parts of humanity up close. But even she had no idea how right she was. And neither did I. Not until tonight. Not until that phone call. Not until the moment I heard the crack. God, that crack. And realized something had crossed a line we could never walk back from. I checked my phone again. No call. No text. No update from Marin. Just silence. Which terrified me more than the screams. I parked 2 blocks from Kelsey's house. Far enough away that nosy neighbors wouldn't see my truck and far enough that I wouldn't break my promise to Marin by storming up the driveway. The sun had dipped low enough to turn the Arizona sky into a sheet of bruised purple. The kind of sky that always made me think of warnings I never listened to. But Marin still hadn't called. Not a text. Not a single update. And that, more than anything, made my chest tighten like a vice. I stepped out of the truck but didn't move forward. I just stood there with my hands on my hips, staring at the faint outline of my old house in the distance. Porch light on. Lawn perfectly trimmed. Everything deceptively normal. The same house where Leah used to run barefoot across the carpet, leaving little dusty footprints she thought I didn't notice. The same house where Kelsey once kissed me against the hallway wall like she couldn't breathe without me. The same house she threw me out of during the divorce, her voice cold enough to frost glass. Now Rylan lived there. Now he slept in my bed. Now he hurt my little girl. My stomach twisted. I paced behind my truck. I kept imagining what Marin was walking into. She wasn't someone who backed down, not ever. This was the same woman who once dragged a drunk man twice her size out of a bar by his ear when he grabbed her waitress friend. The same woman who'd gotten suspended from the sheriff's department after kneeing a judge's nephew in the throat because he tried to assault a teenager during a traffic stop. Marin didn't do diplomatic. She did effective. And if she didn't pick up the phone, it meant she was either busy saving Leah or busy dealing with Rylan. Every possible scenario ran through my head, each one worse than the last. Finally, I pulled out my phone and called her. No answer. Called again. Straight to voicemail. Panic started to climb up my spine like fire ants. My brain went to dark places. What if Rylan hurt her too? What if she went in and he blindsided her? What if a police cruiser turned onto the street ahead, and for a split second my blood went ice cold? Was I about to be arrested for even being near the house? Was Kelsey calling in reports again? Was this some setup? But the cruiser rolled past and didn't slow down. False alarm. I ran a hand over my face, trying to steady my breathing. I turned in a slow circle, trying to think, trying to be smart. But every instinct I had screamed at me to sprint toward that house and tear it apart until I found my daughter. Finally, my phone buzzed. A message from Marin. Just one line. Don't come. Not yet. No explanation. No details. Nothing. My pulse hammered in my ears. I typed back immediately. Is Leah safe? Where are you? What happened? No response. At that exact moment, Kelsey's front door opened. I froze like someone had put a gun to my head. My vision tunneled. Someone stepped onto the porch. Not Marin. Not Kelsey. It was Rylan. He walked out slowly, shirt torn at the shoulder. One side of his face swollen. A dark smear of something across his jaw that looked too much like blood. He scanned the street, his eyes sharp and searching like he knew someone was watching him. He didn't look like a man who'd won a fight tonight. He looked like a man who'd just survived something he wasn't expecting. He stood there for a full minute, breathing heavy, staring into the neighborhood as if daring someone to come forward. Then, without warning, he pulled out his phone and made a call. I couldn't hear what he said, but I watched his expression shift from anger to fear. Real fear. Then he said something that made my stomach drop. He nodded hard and said, "Okay, I'll get rid of it." Get rid of what? He hung up, went back inside, and slammed the door. I was already running toward my truck. Because one thing was suddenly horribly clear. Whatever happened inside that house, it wasn't over. Not even close. I barely made it into the driver's seat before my phone lit up with a new message from Marin. This one wasn't a warning. It wasn't instructions. It wasn't even words. It was a picture. A blurry, frantic shot clearly taken in motion. A child's bedroom. Leah's stuffed rabbit on the floor. And smeared across the white carpet, something dark red. Not a huge pool. Not enough to be fatal. But enough to flip my insides. I zoomed in, fingers trembling. It wasn't blood. It was too thick, too clotted. Then I saw the small plastic container tipped over nearby. Paint. Red craft paint. For a moment, my lungs finally filled with air. Then the horror returned. Why had Marin sent me that? Why no explanation? Why no follow-up? I texted her again. Again. No response. Finally, a new message pinged through. This time not from Marin, but from an unknown number. A single sentence. She shouldn't have interfered. My body locked. My vision blurred. That wasn't random. That wasn't spam. That was directed at me. I jumped out of the truck and sprinted toward the house before logic could stop me. I didn't care about custody orders, judges, or consequences anymore. If Rylan had touched my daughter or my sister, if either of them was hurt, I would burn the entire neighborhood to ash. But halfway up the street, someone stepped out from behind a parked SUV. Kelsey. Her eyes were red, her face streaked with mascara, her hands shaking violently. "Evan, stop." She held her arms out like she could physically block me. "Get out of my way," I snarled. "You can't go inside." "Why not?" She swallowed hard. "Because I called the police, and they're already here." I grabbed her wrist, not hard, but desperate. "Where is Leah? Where's Marin? What the hell did Rylan do?" Kelsey's chin quivered. "He's gone," she whispered. "What do you mean he's gone?" He left. Right after they..." Her voice broke. "Right after they took your sister." My heart stopped. "Took her?" I repeated. "Took her where?" "I don't know." she cried. The police said they had a warrant. They said your sister was being detained for breaking into our house and… No, that didn't make sense. Marin didn't break in, I said. She was responding to Leah's call. Kelsey shook her head, wiping her face. Evan, Leah never called you. My stomach dropped like a stone. What are you talking about? I have the recording. I heard her screaming. That wasn't Leah, she whispered. And then it hit me like a freight truck. The voice in the background. The thud. The scream. Not Leah's. Not clearly. The call had come from a blocked number. Not her phone. Not her tablet. I stepped back, the asphalt tilting beneath me. You think I'm lying, Kelsey said softly. I choked out. I think someone set me up. Evan, Leah is fine. The world stopped. Where is she? Kelsey motioned toward the house. Inside. Asleep. She cried herself to sleep after Marin burst in and grabbed her. What? She scared her half to death, Kelsey said. Leah kept saying, why is Aunt Marin mad at me? And then your sister. She took her, picked her up and ran out through the back door. The air vanished from my chest. No, I whispered. No, she wouldn't. But Marin had sent me that picture. She had gone silent. She had vanished. And then the unknown message. She shouldn't have interfered. My phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. Another message. This one was worse than the first. Picture of Marin, bound, bruised, slumped against the interior of a van. And behind her, standing in the shadows, unmistakable even in low light, Rylan, smirking. The caption beneath it, Round 2 starts now. I staggered back, nearly dropping the phone. This wasn't about custody. This wasn't about rage. This wasn't even about Leah. This was targeted, coordinated, planned. Rylan hadn't lost control. He hadn't snapped. He'd set a trap specifically for my family. And Marin had walked right into it. I don't remember walking back to my truck. 1 second I was standing in front of Kelsey with the picture of my bound sister burning a hole in my brain, and the next I was gripping the steering wheel so hard the leather creaked. My heartbeat felt like it was trying to punch its way out of my chest. My sister, Marin, the one person who'd never left me. The one person tough enough to take down any man she faced, now tied up in the back of some bastard's van. And the bastard was her. Rylan. That smug smirk in the photo told me everything. He wanted me to see her like that. He wanted me to know he had her. He wanted me to come. This wasn't anger. It wasn't retaliation. It was a hunt. My phone buzzed again. I almost threw it. Another message from the unknown number. If you involve the cops again, she dies. I slammed my fist into the dashboard. Stupid, pointless, but I needed to feel pain to stay conscious. My breathing hitched. My entire body was trembling, the kind of trembling you get right before something inside you breaks forever. And then another message appeared. This one more chilling than the others. Bring her replacement. You have 1 hour. Her replacement? Who the hell, Leah? My vision tunneled. My knuckles went numb around the phone. They wanted my daughter. They wanted to trade my sister for my kid. And suddenly, everything made sense in the worst possible way. The fake phone call, the staged scream, the red paint, the silence from Marin. Rylan had planned this. All of it. Not just tonight. For weeks. I forced myself to breathe. Forced myself to think like Marin would. She was a planner, a strategist, always 10 steps ahead of danger. If she'd had even a few seconds before they grabbed her, she would have left me something. Some breadcrumb to follow. I opened the picture she'd sent earlier. The one of the spilled red paint. I zoomed in, dissecting every corner. Nothing looked out of place. Until I spotted it. Barely visible in the bottom right corner. A reflection. A blurry rectangle of light. A doorway, maybe. But the shape wasn't from inside Kelsey's house. I knew that house. Every room. Every angle. That reflection wasn't from Leah's bedroom. It was from a warehouse-style light fixture. The kind used in storage facilities, old workshops, abandoned industrial buildings. Marin hadn't snapped the picture to show me paint. She'd shown me the room she was taken to. I felt a surge of hope. Small but enough. I pulled up Google Maps and started scanning the industrial district 5 miles north. An area Rylan used to brag about doing some side gigs in. It was full of old auto shops, welding yards, abandoned lots. Exactly the kind of place someone like him would hide. I needed help. Someone who could fight. Someone who wouldn't ask questions. Someone who worked outside the law the same way Rylan was operating. There was only one name. Logan Price. My old mentor. Former Marine. Former bounty hunter. Currently working as a security consultant, which was code for fixing problems the police couldn't. He answered on the first ring. Evan, I need you, I said. Marin's been taken. His tone went instantly sharp. By who? Rylan Holt. A beat of silence. That the guy who married your ex? Yeah. Thought he looked like trouble, Logan muttered. Where is he holding her? I don't know, I admitted. But I have an idea. Logan didn't hesitate. Send me the picture. I'm 20 minutes out. Don't do anything dumb until I get there. But I was already starting my truck. Logan, I said, voice flat. I'm out of dumb options. He exhaled. Then don't get killed before I arrive. I ended the call and texted him everything. Then I looked back at Kelsey's house. The upstairs window where Leah slept, oblivious to the hell swirling outside. This wasn't just about rescuing Marin. This wasn't just about stopping Rylan. This was about making damn sure no one ever came near my family again. I put the truck in gear. I had 1 hour, and I was done playing by rules. I sped toward the industrial district with my truck rattling over every pothole like it was about to shake apart. My hands kept sliding on the steering wheel from sweat, so I wiped them on my jeans, again and again, trying to stay focused. The entire night felt like it was accelerating, like the world had tilted into a nightmare I wasn't prepared for. I kept checking the time. 47 minutes left. 47 minutes to find Marin. 47 minutes to stop Rylan from getting anywhere near Leah. My phone vibrated. A text from Logan. On 7th Avenue heading east. You're close. I turned left, engine groaning as I pushed it faster. The warehouses rose around me like massive empty shells. Rusted metal, broken windows, chain-link fences sagging from decades of storms. A place where screams wouldn't echo far enough for anyone to care. Then another message pinged. But this one wasn't from Logan. Unknown number again. Tick-tock. No picture this time. No threat spelled out. Just a reminder that he was controlling the clock. Not me. I gripped the phone so hard my fingers hurt. I wanted him dead. I'd never wanted anything so violently in my life. But the next message nearly made me crash into a utility pole. Marin helped me. I slammed the brakes. Tires shrieked, leaving a long black streak on the asphalt. My heart stopped, rebooted, then slammed into overdrive. Helped? Helped? I reread it 3 times, refusing to believe it, refusing to let the idea burrow into my brain. But then another message came. Longer, crueler. She thought she could turn me. She thought I'd help her get Leah away from both of you. She said she'd make it worth my time. For a full 5 seconds I couldn't breathe. No, Marin would never betray me. Marin would never put Leah in danger. Except she'd always hated Kelsey. Always hated the custody arrangement. Always said Leah needed to be saved from that house. Always said she'd do whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. Logan's name flashed across my screen. He was calling, but I ignored it. My ears were ringing too hard to hear anything anyway. Another message buzzed. She didn't expect me to record her. My eyes burned. I opened the photo attached. There she was, my sister, standing in a warehouse hallway, her face tight with anger, her finger jabbing into Rylan's chest. She wasn't tied up. She wasn't scared. She was negotiating, talking to him like an equal, talking to him like she trusted him, talking to him like she had a plan. My stomach twisted into knots. The caption beneath the photo destroyed whatever hope I'd been holding on to. She thought trading Leah for you was a fair deal. I blinked so hard tears shook loose. No, no, no. This couldn't be real. This couldn't be Marin. Another photo came. This one taken later after he'd grabbed her. After things went bad. Her hands tied, a bruise on her cheek, and a new caption. She lied to both of us. Now she pays first. My pulse shattered into uneven beats. My world shifted sideways. Just then, a truck barreled out of a nearby alley, headlights blinding me. A dark cargo van behind it. Two vehicles moving in formation, fast, too fast to be random. Rylan wasn't hiding anymore. He was coming. For me. I floored the gas, swerving just as the truck attempted to clip my front bumper. The van's doors flew open mid-turn, and for a split second I saw movement inside. Shadows, restraints, someone slumped over. Marin. They weren't waiting for me to bring Leah. They were taking me, and if they succeeded, Leah would have no one left. I grabbed my phone and finally answered Logan's call. They found me, I yelled. They're trying to run me off the road. Logan didn't hesitate. Good, he said. Then you lead them to me. The old industrial lot on 14th and Monroe sat dead silent. Just a wide slab of cracked pavement surrounded by rusted fencing and half-collapsed metal sheds. Logan was already there somewhere. Hidden, waiting. Though I couldn't see him in the dark. I only knew because he told me, "Bring them to the open space. I'll handle the rest." Now I just had to survive long enough to get there. The truck chasing me clipped my rear bumper again. Harder this time, and my entire chassis jerked sideways. My seatbelt bit into my ribs. The van behind it kept tight. Headlights locked onto me like a predator waiting for the moment its prey tripped. And inside that van, my sister. Or at least the woman I thought was still my sister. I didn't know which version was the truth anymore. But I knew one thing for sure. Rylan wasn't doing this because he snapped. He wasn't doing this because he was hurt. He was doing this because he'd been planning it for a long time. I swung into the industrial lot, tires screaming, and slammed on the brakes hard enough to fishtail. Dust rose in a thick cloud around me. The truck swerved wide to avoid hitting me, overshooting the entrance. The van slowed and rolled to a stop 20 yards away. A door slid open, and Rylan stepped out. Not hiding, not angry, calm, controlled. He looked like a man who'd already won. I got out of my truck, fists clenched, pulse pounding. I scanned the shadows for Logan, nothing. If he was here, he was buried so deep in the dark only he knew where. Rylan walked closer, hands in his pockets like he was about to offer me a business deal. "You want to know why?" he asked softly. His voice was different. Not the mocking tone he used at barbecues. Not the fake charming tone he used with Kelsey. This was the real him. "You think I care about custody battles," he said. "You think this is about jealousy, about Kelsey, about Leah." He smiled then, an empty, hollow smile. "This isn't about your family, Evan. It's about mine." For a moment, I didn't understand. Then he nodded toward the van. "Bring her," he ordered. Two men dragged Marin out by her arms. She was conscious, gagged, bruised, wrists bound tight. She was still fighting, even half-dazed. Rylan walked up beside her and tilted her chin up with a single finger. "She didn't tell you the truth," he said, eyes burning with something ugly. "But she told me." I forced the words out through clenched teeth. "Told you what?" He looked at me like I was painfully slow. "Your sister killed my brother." My heart stuttered. "What?" I whispered. 3 years ago, he said. She responded to a domestic disturbance call in Mesa. My brother was there. High, angry, out of his mind. She took him down too hard, too far. He died in the ambulance. I stared at Marin. She closed her eyes. Pain, guilt, shame. All of it flickered across her face in a single second. "You never wondered why she left the sheriff's department so suddenly?" Rylan asked. "Why she disappeared for months after? Why she refused to talk about it?" The world tilted. "Marin was cleared," I said. But the words didn't feel solid. "She was cleared because they said my brother attacked her first," Rylan said. "But I have the reports. I have the statements. I know exactly what she did." He stepped closer until he was inches from me. She didn't come here tonight for Leah, he whispered. She came because she knew I knew. A sickening cold crawled up my spine. She didn't try to save your daughter, he continued. She tried to bargain for a way out. She offered you to me, and when I refused, well, he lifted his hand, revealing a thin blade with dried blood on the edge. She learned what consequences feel like. Every muscle in my body coiled. I didn't care about revelations. I didn't care about motives. I didn't care who killed who. Not anymore. Because the look in his eyes wasn't grief. It was obsession. It was cruelty. It was the kind of hunger that didn't stop at revenge. If you won't bring me Leah, he said, voice dropping to something dead and hollow, then I'll take the person she loves most. The van door slammed behind him, and suddenly I understood. He wasn't here to trade. He wasn't here to negotiate. He wasn't even here to punish. He was here to erase my bloodline, one person at a time. For a moment, everything went silent, the kind of silence that happens right before a bomb goes off. Rylan stood across from me with that dead, obsessive hunger in his eyes, Marin barely conscious between two men, and the van behind them like a mouth waiting to swallow all of us whole. But then I heard it. A faint crunch of gravel somewhere behind the rusted sheds. Logan. He was here. And the moment I felt that, something inside me snapped into place. Not rage. Not panic. Something sharper. Calmer. Like all the fear I'd been drowning in suddenly evaporated and left only the part of me that refused to die. You're not getting her, I said quietly. Rylan smiled. You think I want your daughter? No, I want you dead. Leah was just leverage. And then he nodded once, small, almost casual. The men holding Marin moved first, dragging her toward the van. The third guy lunged at me with something metal in his hand. Rylan didn't move at all. He just watched. That sick fascination in his eyes, like he was waiting to see how fast I broke. But I wasn't alone. A sharp crack echoed through the lot. The man closest to Marin dropped instantly, a stun round embedded in his sternum. Before the others even realized what was happening, Logan stepped out from behind the shed, shotgun raised, voice calm as stone. Let her go. The second man panicked and reached for a weapon. Logan hit him with a second non-lethal round that folded him forward like someone cut his strings. The guy who'd rushed me turned toward the sound. Wrong move. I grabbed his arm, wrenched it behind him, and slammed him face first into the side of the van. He dropped like a sack of sand. And then it was just Rylan, still smirking, still fearless, still convinced he owned the board. You brought help, he said. Cute. He reached behind his back and pulled a small pistol, raising it toward Logan. But Logan wasn't his target. I was. Move and your boy here dies first, Rylan spat. My body locked, just for a second. A single second too long, because he swung the gun toward me. And Marin, barely conscious, barely standing, threw herself sideways into him. Her shoulder slammed into his ribs, knocking his arm off angle right as he fired. The shot went wild, grazing my truck's door with a sharp metallic shriek. Rylan howled and punched her across the jaw. That was his mistake, because the second he touched her, the second he laid a hand on my sister again, everything inside me went dark. I charged him. We hit the pavement hard, both of us rolling. He tried to scramble to his feet, bringing the pistol up again, but all those weeks training with Logan had reshaped me. I wasn't the guy who punched cabinets anymore. I knocked the gun from his hand, grabbed the back of his head, and drove my knee upward. His nose shattered with a sickening crack. He swung wildly, clipped my ear, but I didn't stop. I caught his wrist, twisted it until he screamed, then pinned him with my forearm against his throat. This, I said through my teeth, is for Leah. I drove my fist into his temple. And this is for Marin. Another strike, harder, his head hitting the pavement. And this is for every second you thought you owned us. He was barely conscious now, breath rattling, eyes unfocused. Blood seeped across the concrete like a spreading stain. I raised my fist one more time. A hand landed on my shoulder. Enough, Logan said quietly. He lives. He goes to prison. And you go home to your kid. I froze, my anger crashing into itself, breaking apart. He was right. Killing Rylan would tie my life to his forever. Letting the law take him would end him more completely. I stood up slowly. Rylan slumped sideways, coughing, broken, beaten, powerless. Marin crawled toward me, dazed but alive. I knelt and pulled her into my arms. She whispered, "I didn't betray you, I swear. I just tried to get close to him, to protect Leah. I was wrong. I'm so sorry." And I believed her. The police arrived minutes later. Logan had already called them once the fight broke out. Deputies cuffed Rylan, loaded him into the back of a cruiser, and took statements. Marin was taken to the hospital. Logan stood beside me the whole time, silent, steady. By sunrise, it was over. Later, after giving my statement, I drove straight to Kelsey's house and found Leah curled up on the couch, clutching her stuffed rabbit. I knelt beside her and kissed her forehead. "Daddy?" she whispered. "Are you okay?" "I am now," I said. And for once, it was the truth. Rylan Holt was later sentenced to decades. Kidnapping, attempted murder, weapons charges, the whole mountain. Even his lawyer didn't bother pretending he was innocent. My family, broken, battered, flawed, was safe. And sometimes that's the only victory that matters. That night, as I tucked Leah into bed, she looked up at me with sleepy eyes. "Daddy." "Yeah, sweetheart. Is the bad man gone?" I brushed her hair back gently. "He's gone, baby," I said. "For good." She nodded, satisfied, and drifted off. I stood there a moment longer, whispering the final truth to myself. He thought he was hunting us. Turns out he walked right into our trap.